direct from the Pacific Northwest.
Representando a todos los Alvis en los Estados Unidos con Dro Breeze.
You are listening to,
You already know,
the DroInTheKnow podcast with your host,
the one and only
Dro Breeze.
Happy New Week, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the DroInTheKnow podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dro Breeze, for the week. Straight off the bat, once again, giving a big shout out to all the supporters who have been tuning in on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other digital platforms. And now also available and streaming on YouTube. So make sure to search me up under DroInTheKnow podcast. And remember, it really means a lot. And if you really like what you hear, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. It truly would be appreciated. Well, hope everybody's doing great. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Not going to lie, this daylight saving shit has me off rhythm. I'm not going to lie. I just hate that shit. But as we start the new spring season, especially for this crazy ass year that is a continuation from the previous year, I know a lot of people are trying to find inspiration and motivation to actually get back into physical shape. Some of us never have been able to even have the opportunity yet because in our states, there's still restrictions, which, respectfully, we understand these circumstances. But what about other people who actually have never worked out before? And I just figured, you know what? Why not have somebody who can come onto the show and, discuss, the fundamentals of working out and also kind of discuss his journey on the path on how he got into shape. So without any more further delay, here we go. My next guest is a professional certified workout trainer and motivational speaker. It's with great pleasure to welcome Mr. Aaron Arias. Thanks for taking the time and joining me on this podcast, Aaron.
Absolutely, man. It's great to be here, Joel.
Yeah, it's been quite some time. I know we go way back, right? Thanks again for coming through and joining me. For all the listeners that are tuning in, Aaron is someone who has faced many challenges in life and has repeatedly shut down all the naysayers by overachieving when facing personal obstacles. He brings good energy, and when you find yourself looking for tips, whether it's regarding working out or if you're looking for that raw emotional motivation, he's your go-to guy. So I know it's been some years. I hope all is well in your end.
Absolutely, man. It's been a couple of years here, but we just keep on keeping on. The world is definitely in a very different situation, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, please do. Please do. I know you and I went to high school together, and during that time, I know the challenges that you faced regarding your appearance. You were skinny, you were short, kids were cruel, and girls just didn't give you any time of the day. And instead of taking that in and letting it destroy you, it stood out to me that you actually took all that in and managed to let that motivate you into working out. Because I remember the time when I found out that you went from that to modeling, and then you became a motivational speaker. I was saying, wow, that's fucking crazy. And, to this day, you're one of the most fit people that I know out there. And that's fucking inspirational, man. So why don't you tell the audience how did this whole thing start? What made you decide to just say one day, hey, I'm picking up the dumbbell and I'm just going to go hard at the gym? How did this whole thing start for you?
I'm glad that you brought that up, Excuse me, guys. I know that everybody has their challenges and we all have our stories. We all have our backgrounds. Yeah. And, failures and disabilities are not there to crush you. They're actually there to inspire you to become better and move wherever you want to move from whatever situation or environment you're in. So I think the best way to answer that question is to give you a little bit of backstory of how it all began for me.
Okay.
So as you know, I used to dance.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I used to watch Michael Jackson, Usher, Justin Timberlake, they used to move. Yeah. And I just thought that was so inspiring. And for all the listeners out there who don't know me personally, I also suffer with dyslexia. So when I was in high school, I couldn't even read a book. I couldn't read a sign. I was really, really bad at school. I was like C- student. So I spent a lot of time just watching videos on Michael, Usher, Justin Timberlake. That was like my positive expression. That was the place to go.
Yeah.
And when it comes to dance, it's a way of movement, but it's also fitness. It's cardio. Mm-hmm. It's one of the best cardios you can do, anything of movement. And for me personally, it all started from that point on. And it kind of kept me out of trouble. Even though I got into a little bit of trouble, it still kept me out of most bad things. Because as I became more into dancing, I also fell in love with a lot of athletic movements and being an athlete. So I kind of became very diverse in that aspect.
So You mentioned that you had a learning disability. Were teachers aware that you were dyslexic, or at that time did they think that you were just one of those students who were, troublemakers and up to no good? Because I know that society then wasn't as aware as today regarding certain disabilities.
It's crazy because it's like being dyslexic or having any learning challenges is super common these days, right? Richard Branson, Tom Cruise, there's so many famous, successful entrepreneurs to actors who are dyslexic.
Yeah, I had Larry Hankin on episode 2 who was, discussing the issues of acting and dyslexia.
Yeah, but when you're young, you don't realize that being dyslexic isn't a disadvantage. It just means you got to try a little harder, or you just got to be a bit more creative than the average person, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But it's because I was so bad at school, I didn't really focus on school. I focused on the artistic, creative abilities.
Yeah, it creates a lot of avenues.
Correct. So for me, it was dancing and it was movement. So the teachers were always aware. I used to go to this classes called like LRC, like Learning Resource Center, and I remember it was for at that time I was embarrassed at the time because I didn't realize that having a certain challenge doesn't make you less than. It just means you have to work a little harder, or just do things differently. But teachers were totally aware. My parents were aware of it. Everybody tried. And I had some really awesome teachers. They would actually fight for me and kept me out of trouble when I got myself in trouble. I
definitely know what you mean. Yeah.
So there's some very good teachers that really they encouraged me and told me that, Aaron, you might not be the strongest person academically, but it doesn't mean you can't be something great.
Wow, that is super rare, even back then and even now, that you came across teachers like that. And that's actually a blessing, definitely. So saying that, at what point did you decide to, go on a fitness journey and start getting in shape? Did it just happen randomly one night, or did you, come across an article on a magazine, or did somebody just offer to teach you?
So from dancing, I remember watching Usher. And if you guys know Usher back in the day, he used to show off his six-pack.
Yeah, that's true. Right. I remember girls would go crazy over him back in the days.
Big time crazy. So I'm like, wait a minute. If I could get a six-pack, I might be able to get females too.
It's very common for teenagers to think that way.
Oh, big time. And for me, my headspace wasn't about being healthy and having low body fat, be able to play with my kids and travel the world and like enjoy life. Yeah. To me, it was just strictly, let me get abs so I can get some female attention. And if Usher's doing it, it'll probably work for me, and I can dance. So that was I started doing crunches and sit-ups in my room. And just watching back then.
Now, were you working out just from what you saw on TV, or was somebody properly teaching you how to work out back in those days?
That was just me going off my head. That was because
there was no YouTube back in those days.
Well, there was MTV, so I used to record things on a cassette player, like MTV, right? Like, they would rewind it back and forth, right? So yeah, watching, I think it was My Way, the video, but watching Usher on My Way, because his shirt was a bit off, and that was like, now in hindsight, I know that having abdominals, having a nice core is actually good. Not just for health reasons, but also for like speed agility, especially if you're an athletic person. But for me, it was just more for the aesthetics appeal at that time. I'm like, wow, if I can move and have a six-pack, I'm probably going to get a little bit more attention than what I'm getting from that, and especially because I was just so bad at school. So I wasn't definitely winning in that area, right?
Yeah, and I know especially that with all the hardships that you were dealing with at the time, not being fit must have been intimidating. And I get it. You were using dancing as a tool to gain your confidence.
Correct.
So eventually when you walked into your first workout session ever, what were you feeling? And what was your experience like stepping into that gym the first time ever?
So the first gym that I personally was Fitness World. And it's in a town called Coquitlam in Canada. And one of my buddies was going, and he's like, Aaron, come with me. And I went. And it's funny because I remember everyone used to make fun of me because I was the guy who started off using the machines. There was like a little circuit with machines. And all my buddies were doing like deadlifts and like bench press and all these big power movements, all this masculine movement. And I'm working the machines. And I actually did the machines. I did the machines for 3 months. But so that was my first experience until I got comfortable enough to like go in there and do those like more heavier compound movements, right?
Yeah, right. So what you're saying is that it was friends who taught you how to start working out. Is that correct?
So this is one thing I've always picked up this ability that when I see someone at the gym or if I see someone at Starbucks, or I'm very open minded to go up to people and just ask questions. So for me,
Yeah,
the way it works is
many people don't do that. Sorry to cut you off there. Many people don't do that. They feel intimidated.
correct, and it's crazy because it's the opposite. Because when you go up to someone, you ask them and you're polite about it. People are so flattered, right? So when I went up, I remember this is really big guy. He's a professional bodybuilder. I went up to him and I said, "Man, you're in such great shape. Do you mind me asking you a couple questions?" And he was so flattered and actually very polite towards me. And then I remember, so he took his time to show me a couple of things and talk to me a couple of things. The next day, I asked him, "Hey, can I come train with you?" He said, "Yeah, absolutely. You can come join me." So because back then, you're right, there wasn't YouTube. I couldn't learn off
Yeah.
videos. I actually had to follow people, but I
Yeah.
had enough common sense to realize, okay, let me find the guys who are like incredibly good shape, or let me
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
the guys that I think that are like the best shape. And because most people don't do that, most people will not go up to people or compliment them or ask them questions. I remember asking my buddy, just in hindsight, I asked him, "Why did you teach me? Like, why did you take your time with me?" He's like, "Aaron, because you came up to me and you were so friendly." And no one ever does that. They always just look at me, but they never come up and talk to me.
Yeah, it's such a common thing for us guys to do, especially in a gym setting where there's a bunch of guys and, ego and pride can get in the way. Now, there's a lot of people at the gym that don't know what they're doing. Do you agree with that statement?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, because it seems that no matter how fit a person can be, there's always room for growth and learning new things. If only, us guys could just put aside that arrogant ass energy. And you know what
Yeah.
energy I'm talking about. More people would see better results. I mean, for example, in your case, when you went through all these things, how long did it start taking you to start seeing results? Was it weeks? Was it months? Was it even longer?
So with this specific individual,
Yeah.
who's actually like I would say he's definitely a semi-pro bodybuilder. So he's already like in really good shape. And that's another thing for the listeners. Like, guys, if you ask people for advice, or you're at the gym where you want to try this strategy, make sure it's someone that's actually like in physically good shape. And it's not because of the aesthetics, but it means that they have the education to at least share that with you, right?
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that I see wrong at the gym is people out of shape giving people advice who want to get in shape. I know that sometimes these people mean well, but to be honest, like you kind of find people that are actually in physically good shape,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like with every industry is like that, right? If you want to learn how to play piano, your piano teacher better know how to play piano, guys. Like, if you can't play
Yeah.
piano, I'm sorry, he's not going to teach you how to play piano. So back to the question of how long it took me and how long it took my body to see some changes. I would say it was great because as a beginner lifter, your body actually will adapt the quickest, you know? Uh,
Yeah.
and so it's like in 6 months and like 3 months, in 3 months, I saw my body changing, but in 6 months, I really saw it different big time, especially
So
because I was,
it took you 6 months. Okay. So let me
yeah,
ask you a quick question. For somebody who may be listening who is a beginner and really has no idea what they're doing and they want to go on the right path, is it true, and please correct me if I'm wrong on this, if you work out Mondays through Fridays, should you be focusing on one muscle group per day? Because that's what I keep hearing a lot. For example, Mondays you
correct.
work on chest, Tuesdays arms, Wednesdays back, or should you mix it up in your opinion? I mean, what would you recommend for somebody who's just starting off at the gym and trying to set up a schedule?
To a beginner, I would honestly say like if you just worked out and did like I know exactly what you mean is like you this it's pretty much hitting one muscle group a day, which is
Yeah.
your traditional bodybuilding workout, right? But the
Hmm.
average person doesn't have time to go to the gym every single day,
Yeah.
and so I would recommend for a beginner 3 to 4 times a week is more than enough, right? Your body actually needs a day to recover. It takes 48 hours for your muscle to recover. So one day you could do like chest and tries, back and buys,
Hmm.
right? So you could do two muscle groups in each session that you go to, right?
So when you work out each muscle group, should you actually do, say, how many workouts per muscle group should you do when
That's
you're at
actually
the gym?
that's a great question. It's such an individual thing, right? I would say at
Hmm.
least if I was training a client and he was just getting started, I would have him do at least four exercises, 3 to 4, right? I mean, I
Per
personally
muscle
do
group?
per muscle group, right?
Okay.
I personally do like 5 or 6, right? But
Hmm.
because it depends. your first session, you are going to most likely be sore the next day, right? Even
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you,
definitely.
right, because let's say we're doing chest, for example, right? You have upper chest, right? You have middle chest, right? And then you have lower chest, right? And so these
Hmm.
all are different exercises or different machines, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It really varies on the individual, right? But you need to at least target those three muscles of the chest, right? Biceps, right?
Hmm.
There's two heads of the biceps, right? So depending on how you hold the bar, you're going to be hitting
Yeah.
different heads. There's the outer head, the inner head, right?
Hmm.
So each exercise is actually targets the muscle very differently, right?
Hmm.
So that's why you can't just do one exercise for chest or one exercise for legs or biceps. It just you won't be hitting all that full muscle that you want, right?
Yeah,
Especially
definitely.
especially if you want the more aesthetic appeal, which
I see.
unfortunately we all do, right?
Hmm. So saying that, right? Does the same apply for the female body? I mean, for all the female listeners, do they follow these same regimens as well as? Because I know you're talking from a guy's perspective, but
Correct.
for a female listening, does it apply the same way? Because I know a
Absolutely.
lot of females have this idea that if they do weights, they're gonna gain mass. I don't know why that is,
Yeah.
but I mean, why don't you enlighten us and tell us how that works?
So to gain mass for guys or girls, let's just talk. There's a certain genetics. Everybody has a certain genetics of how big they can get, right? I've
Yeah.
never been the biggest guy, but I can get pretty lean and have some pretty good size on me. So, and to even just get some size, it will take you 6 months to a year, right? That
Yeah.
10-week program, 8-week program, that will get you lean. But to actually build quality muscle, it takes time. It's
Mhm.
just like having a business, right? I don't know too many people who become a millionaire in 6 months to a year. It takes time, right? So
Yeah.
with girls, that's actually quite the opposite. And as you know, when you build quality muscle, guess what? That body is going to burn fat all day long. So girls want to build quality muscle, right? So they can do the same workout that guys do, right? A lot of
Mhm.
girls do like to target the bottom area because it's a very
Mhm.
attractive part for a lot of the females. So they might
Yeah.
target doing legs a little bit more than often, like twice, 3 times a week, which is fine. But they can still target biceps, chest, all the muscle groups that guys do, right? And it
Yeah.
also depends on the rep range. If they're sticking from 15 to 20 reps, it's going to be harder to really build more of that muscle, right? You'll still get that tone, but you won't get as much size, right? If you really want size, you go from like 6 to 8, I would say, right? Rep range.
Oh, so can you explain to the audience, especially for somebody who's a beginner, what is a rep exactly? How does that work exactly in the gym?
So when you do one rep, it's like one count, I guess you can call it, right? So
Mhm.
let's just for easy sake, let's say bicep, right? When you do a bicep curl, when you go up, that's one, and as you go down, that's one count, right? There's
Mhm.
tempos, right? So when you're doing a bicep curl, you go up on one, and then you lower the weight on two, right? So if you want like a nice negative, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a nice negative will actually tear more muscle fiber because
Mhm.
it's all about time under tension. The longer that muscle is under tension and has time under tension, the bigger that muscle will actually get, right? So you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
your
yeah.
reps, you have your tempos, and then you have your rest sets on top of that, right? Some
Mhm.
people rest for 2 minutes, some people rest for 1 minute, right? As a beginner, I think 1 minute is perfect enough. But if you're like a power lifter or you're going for a heavier set, 2 to 3 minutes you might want to give yourself, right? Because what's
Mhm.
happening in between that is you're building lactic acid up, right? And
Yeah.
so as you're giving your body enough time, you can hit that set or rep again, right?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but for the listeners that are tuning in, what do you personally recommend? Say for one workout, quick example, using the dumbbells, right? How many sets should you be doing for that workout? Is it 2 sets, 3 sets,
For a
or
beginner, 3 sets is more than enough, right?
so
Right.
3 sets and 3 sets of how many?
Let's say 3 sets from 6 to 12 reps, right?
Okay,
Right.
so 12 reps. So 3 sets of 12s
Correct.
basically
And
should
if you
be the idea for a beginner. Does that apply also for a female who's trying to work out as well?
absolutely
For
right.
everybody across the board then.
Across the board, right? And like I said,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me, it's all about time and attention. That's what I teach most of my clients. Like, it's not about how much you lift; it's how properly you lift that weight. That's why it's good to
And
have
how
like
slow too. So you're basically saying
correct.
by doing it slowly, you're building that tension on your muscle that will help
Yep.
produce, and will that help also burn fat?
It will help build more. It's what happens is when as you're having resistance on the muscle, there's acting in their mycins and they're being teared and they're being ripped, right? And so the way you
Mhm.
actually build muscle is in the kitchen, and I know I'm sure it's another subject that listeners are going to want to know, which is food, right? Pretty
Mm-hmm.
much what you're doing at the gym is you're there to really pretty much rip as much muscle fiber as possible. So then when you go to the kitchen and you give it the nutrition it needs, it's going to grow, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we need to rip and tear down muscle pretty much. And then we need to go to the kitchen and we need to feed it the nutrition for it to grow, right?
So it's like growing a plant, basically. You're watering it at the gym and putting it out in the sun, but when you come in, you got to give it those, vitamins and you already know what I mean.
Absolutely. That's a great analogy. Perfect.
So here's another question. So I want to ask you a fact or fiction because I mean I'm going to tell you things that people ask because I know people talk about this. Whether you're at a party, whether you're at a hangout, everybody always brings up their own, you know, ideas, and you just don't know if it's fact or fiction. If you are a person who's overweight, because a lot of people always focus on the skinny people. If you're a person who's overweight, by bodybuilding, not bodybuilding, but by doing weights, will you build muscle on top of that fat, or will it actually burn the fat first and then the muscle will grow? How does that work, especially for somebody who's overweight? Because I mean, there's a lot of people that are scared to do weights when they're fat,
Correct.
and the reason they say that is because they think that they're going to build more mass.
Yeah.
Is that a fact or fiction?
I would say that's definitely fiction. Okay, I mean
Okay.
it makes sense. Like if from a point of view, but like I said, as you build muscle, your body becomes a furnace, and it
Yeah.
starts to just destroy the fat. That's why you'll see guys or girls who can eat whatever they want and they stay pretty lean, or they can cheat quite a bit and they stay pretty lean, right? Because they have the
Mhm.
ability to just produce. Their body is on a furnace, and it's the ability to just burn more fat than the average person.
You
Right?
know, that's such a great point. I never thought about it that way. That's actually very smart. So you're basically saying that by tearing these muscles, it's just creating this furnace inside your body that anything that comes in, it just easily burns off. That makes a lot of sense, though. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So like
So
someone who's 300 pounds, if it's a combination of, before I was just reading an article a while ago, and like back in the 80s, they used to think that the best way for someone a bigger person to lose weight was just to do cardio, was
yeah,
just
they
cardio.
did that a lot. All
Cardio,
the
exactly.
videos and everything. So that's not true. Do you have to mix it up both, or how does that work? Because here's another question, right? So we talk about, working out your muscle groups when you go to the gym. Should you incorporate, especially as a beginner, cardio with your workouts, or is that overdoing it? I mean, what is the time limit that somebody should be at the gym, especially if they're just starting off, say 2-3 months in?
I would say an hour is more than enough, even for me. Like I've been working out for years, and an hour is more than plenty enough. Because none of us are being competitors. None of us are professional bodybuilders stepping on stage. We all
Yeah,
have,
yeah.
well, I would say that most people just want to look good, want to feel good, and want the energy that they used to have like when they were younger, right? It's just that
Hmm.
youthful energy. So an hour is more than plenty enough to do a combination of 30 minutes of weights and 30 minutes of cardio. Or there's so many ways you can do it. You can go for a run outside and then do the weights in the afternoon. You can split your workouts out, right? But
Should you mix your cardio with your weight training during the same hour? I mean, would you recommend that, or is that something that is not a good thing?
that is, that's where it gets a little bit tricky, right? This
Yeah.
is the best answer. I was talking. My sister actually said this to me because I ran into her at the gym today, and she's like, Aaron, one thing I realized is the best workouts are the ones that you actually do. So pretty much like if you're that kind of person who loves cardio, do cardio, right? If you want to do cardio first in the morning, do it. If you want to do it at night, do it. However you feel that's going to get the job done, right?
Yeah.
Me personally, I like doing weights then doing cardio, right? But some people like doing cardio then weights. Really, it doesn't. It's
And
just
that, and
an
and that,
individual choice.
is that during the same workout, or is that spread throughout the day? I'm just
You can,
curious out of that.
And that's another great question. You can split it throughout the day, or you can do it all at once if you want, right? There's times, I mean, I've had times because I used to travel quite a bit, where I just didn't
Yeah.
have the time to do cardio and like couldn't do the split. So I would do it together. I would do, for example, like a good R workout, which is what I do, like biceps and triceps. You could superset that, which means that I could pick up a bicep curl, and then I could do like for triceps, I could do like pull down extensions, right? So I'm
Hmm.
saving time, right? So I'm going from one workout to another workout, then taking a minute break. That's saving me time. I can literally
Yeah.
do arms in 20 minutes. 20
20
minutes.
minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
I just blast my arms, go do my cardio for another 30 minutes. I'm out of the gym. I'm good to go. I can go enjoy my day.
No, definitely. No, that's good to know. So here's the thing. I'm picking your brain because I know a lot of our audience actually have so many questions. I mean, I'm basically trying to ask you these questions for mostly beginners because there's so many people that are just looking up on YouTube and they really don't understand how everything works. One thing, and I know you know this a lot because you used to work at a supplement store. The misunderstanding of supplements is just through beyond the roof. Everybody either
Absolutely.
thinks that you got to take whatever you got to take. They see like a sign at the supermarket that says this is good for whatever, and they just buy it thinking that. But my question is, are they doing more harm to themselves and gaining more weight without, not really knowing? But when should you use protein? How does that work? So for a beginner who's never worked out in their life and they're listening to you right now, what would you recommend to start off? Do you just go to the gym, do your cardio like you were saying, and then you come home and just eat fresh? Or do you eat fresh and start introducing certain supplements to your diet right away?
Great question. So I always like to say, supplements are supposed to be supplementing what you're already supposed to be doing. And what you're already supposed to be doing is actually eating healthy to begin with, right?
Yeah.
That should always be your base, right?
Yeah.
Food, solid, nutritious food, right? Um,
Hmm.
I would recommend organic food if you can get your hands on it. But if you can't,
Yeah.
that's okay, right? When it comes to nutrition, it's such a deep subject, but not going to get into it today. But
Yeah.
we all know that there's you have your lean healthy meats, you have your good fats, you have your good carbohydrates, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The biggest thing, like what I do with some of my clients, is I get them to download my Fitness Pal, right? And I get them to track their meals, right? Because I need to know what they're eating on a daily basis, at least for a week, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to find out their maintenance calories, right? So once you find out their maintenance calories, I can put them on a deficit, right? And a
Yeah.
deficit is like lower their calories by like 100 to 200 calories. Nothing too crazy, right? Um,
Yeah. Definitely.
but that way they can see also too, like, man, like even if they cheat, I still want them to put it down, right? Um,
Hmm.
that's where things really start to change when you start to understand um, like what you're actually eating that's nutrition or not nutritionist, right? So
Yeah.
once you have your eating down, you understand your maintenance calories. Let's say you want to get a little bit leaner, you go on a calorie deficit, you start to lower it, right? It's nice when you have a personal trainer or a professional guiding you because he can help you with these numbers and he's got the experience, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing it on your own, you can make a couple mistakes like by going drastically, if you drastically lower your calories too much, you will go into starvation mode and you'll
Hmm.
actually won't be losing any fat because your body is trying to survive, right? So
Hmm.
there's a happy medium there, right? but
Yeah.
but so once you have your nutrition in locked down, okay, I know how many calories I need, I understand how much my minerals and vitamins are coming from apples, oranges. I'm having enough greens. Greens is such a powerful food. A lot of people don't eat enough greens, right? Spinach,
Yeah. Yeah.
broccoli,
Definitely.
asparagus. Like greens is just it's great for your skin, your teeth. Like it's super valuable to have greens as much as you have anything else, right? Most people think fitness, they think protein, 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 right?
Yeah, well, what's up with that? Why do they think that? I mean, especially, I see a lot of people always talking about that, after your workout, you should have a protein shake, or now they're actually advertising on magazines and, everywhere that chocolate milk is better than protein. And you're just hearing all these different, you're just hearing all these different things and it keeps changing in the industry. And, now I see a lot of women actually buying protein at stores and stuff. And for somebody who's just trying to lose weight or something like that, is that necessary in your opinion?
So it goes back to the what you said about like supplements, and so like for example, like the reason protein powder is such a big supplement in the marketing industry or just in the fitness industry is because to consume enough one, let's keep it for simple math. They say that you should have 1 gram of protein per lean muscle mass, right?
Yeah.
So if I weigh 100, if I want to be 200 pounds, right, I should have 200 grams of protein, right? Now, to actually digest 200 grams of protein could be a lot for the average person who has a life, a
Yeah.
professional, a school teacher, a mother that's got 3 kids. She doesn't have time for that. So then here
Yeah.
comes the supplements like protein powder, which you can just shake up in a bottle of water. if you or milk and make it nice and blend it up. Takes you 2 seconds, and it's going to help you actually hit those 200 grams, right? So really, protein powder is there to help the recovery process of the actin and the myosin that's been teared down at the gym, right? So
definitely.
Protein is a building block, but the reason
So for somebody who's trying to lose weight, should they even consider taking protein powder, even if they're trying to lose weight? I mean, or is that going to be counterproductive and they're actually going to gain weight as they're trying to?
No. They if they're doing their cardiovascular endurance and they actually have a proper weight program, and when it comes to weight programs, it's just such an individual thing, right? That's why again it falls back to having. It's nice when you have a professional who's guiding you through that process, right? So when it comes to weight training, you will need at least 1 gram, in my opinion, of 1 gram of protein per muscle mass to help that muscle grow. Remember, guys, we want the muscle to grow so we can burn fat all day long. That way, we go with our friends and we cheat people like, man, you look so good. How can you eat all that? Well, that's because now you're carrying around muscle, right? Your body.
So is chocolate milk actually what they're trying to advertise? Is that actually as productive? I mean, they're starting to say that a lot. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that, but everywhere they're talking about that. Hey, you don't have to spend money on, on protein shakes. You can just buy milk. I mean, and make yourself chocolate milk. I mean, is there any truth to that, or is that any misunderstanding?
Well, protein, when I think most people think protein, they think meat, they think beef, Everything has protein. Your grain bread has protein. Milk actually has protein, yes, But for a higher dose of protein, you probably want to stick to your meats, right? Or if you're a vegetarian, there's vegetarian products too that actually carry lots of protein, right? You got soybeans, right? You have tofu, right? So you can get protein that way too if you're a vegetarian, right? So yes, you can have chocolate milk after your workout, but because of the protein. But there are other sources that have a higher content of protein.
I see what you mean. Now that you're talking about vegetarians, something that's been very popular in all markets, and I was looking into it too. I mean, is this whole craze of Beyond Meat? Like it's everywhere. Even they just signed a recent deal with McDonald's, Taco Bell. They're gonna start trying to grab people to come in and buy, this Beyond Meat product. But I was reading some of the things that they actually carry in their ingredients, kind of like they have like canola oil and all these things and red dye just to make it look like it's actual meat. What do you think about the Beyond Meat products that is gaining popularity right now?
It's when it comes, it's such an individual choice. Like there are vegetarians. There's actually bodybuilding vegetarians, and I've seen them on YouTube. There's people who are incredibly good shape just being a vegetarian, right? It is harder to get your protein being vegetarian. You have to take a lot more of a certain product or just be more resourceful, right? But it really comes down to just an individual choice. I think it's great. I think if that's something that you enjoy and it fits your lifestyle, some people do it for religion aspects, which is fine, but yeah, I think I personally, I've tried it. It's a bit too hard for me personally. I prefer I prefer my doing the meats because I love my meats.
Well, you got your chicken breasts and stuff like
Correct.
that it's just easier, and it's probably not as expensive as Beyond Meat. But in your opinion, do you think Beyond Meat is actually not as healthy as we think it is? I mean, in any way, have you looked into that?
So this is like I'm when it comes to being a vegetarian, it's definitely not my expertise subject.
Okay.
But I will tell you one thing I learned from supplements, working at the supplement store.
Yeah.
That this is what I always tell my personal friends, because I'm going to be very honest with all you guys. I always look, I'm not a chemist. I don't actually know exactly what goes into that protein powder. I don't see it with my eyes, right? But so a lot of companies, a lot of supplements, and a lot of companies, they don't always tell you the truth exactly what's in the product, right?
Yeah,
I'm
it's
saying, so
true.
that goes back to just what I always goes back to. Supplements should be the last thing you take. The number one thing you should be taking and focusing on is your food, right? You don't actually need supplements if you feel like you can get enough protein through eating properly. Yes, I would highly recommend that, right?
You know what I personally think? I personally think that this Beyond Meat has actually been in the market for longer than we think. I personally think, and this is just, I don't know if it's a conspiracy or just my mindset, I think that fast food companies have actually been using it to make their patties with using a percentage of actual beef. So in my opinion, I think that they use maybe 30% beef and then the rest was that Beyond Meat, and they mix it up to expand it to make it feel that it was real meat when it really wasn't. And I feel that why they were so easy to convert into this whole, Burger King came out with the Impossible Burger, which is Beyond Meat. Now
Yeah.
they're signing these deals. I feel that do you know what I mean? I feel like that's what we've been given all these years, especially in the 90s when me and you were growing up. Fast food was much bigger than what it is now. Isn't that crazy in your opinion?
It is like, you have to also realize we're talking about these companies who have $1 billion of like marketing, right? They know
Yeah.
exactly how to trigger and how to get us to be impulsive buyers, right? So
Exactly.
they've definitely done their homework. So they've obviously seen there's a market for vegetarian burgers, and they're going to monetize off that. So, as a consumer, you just have to make your own decision on what you think is best, right? In my personal opinion,
Yeah, yeah.
I think there's nothing wrong with being a vegetarian. I think it's great. If you can do it, awesome. If it fits your lifestyle,
Yeah.
100%, right?
Yeah,
For
definitely.
me personally, and this is my personal opinion, it just does it because I have
I don't blame you, man. It's not that easy. It's
oh,
definitely not that easy, especially, with people's work schedules and everything like that. It's just not possible for some people, and I understand that. Like, I mean, if you had a bunch of kids, can you imagine having to cook dinner and having to go to the store and buy Beyond Meat? That's not that easy, right?
no,
It's
no.
not. It's you can't whip it up as quick, right? But I have a couple more questions, and I know that let's just before we end it and all that, we're not ending just yet, but there's a lot of people right now during this pandemic, a lot of middle-aged people. And I hate to say it to you, we're kind of approaching that. You know what I mean? There's a
Absolutely.
lot of people that, are dealing with work, life, children. They don't have enough time to work out. And most of them are actually even working remote.
Love it.
For a middle-aged man to start off who has, the traditional beer belly,
Yep.
but doesn't have the time, what are your recommendations for somebody in that situation where they have a bunch of kids, they're working at home all the time and they just really don't feel great, they feel unhealthy? How can they tackle that if they have no experience going to the gym or even the time to go to the gym?
So, I mean, yes, I'm a personal trainer. I worked at a supplement store. I've trained clients. And if you can, it depends on I know right now with COVID, people have lost their jobs, right? So there's two scenarios. First scenario, let's talk about someone who actually has the resources, which means the income to invest in a personal trainer or online
Mhm.
coach. I would recommend that because when you have guidance from a professional with the education, it will save you tremendous amount of time, right? Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
going down that road, I would always recommend, investing in yourself is the best investment you'll always make, But
definitely.
if you don't have that resource, let's say you just lost your job and you don't have a source of income or you're living off government support. YouTube, there's so many things that you can learn off YouTube, right? I always tell people if you need to lose body fat, start by just moving. Go for a run. That's free outside. Just that alone will get the process going. Um, and as you get the body moving, your eating will come with it also. I never, when I work out, I cheat less, because it's like I just push my body to its limit. I want
Yeah.
I want the nutrition I want the best food possible so my body can grow. And so someone who hasn't like moved for a while, just honestly, it sounds so simple, and it's just start by running. Just go outside and start by running. Start by moving. There's a new app for Apple Fitness Plus. I think
Yeah.
I think those things are great too. Like home workouts where you don't have you don't need any gym equipment. You just need to watch someone move. You move with them. Highly recommend. Right. So there's personal training. Do if you can get the
Mhm.
personal trainer, do it. If you can't, use YouTube. Use apps like Apple Plus. Um, there's a one with sorry guys, I forgot the name. It's a bike. It's got a screen on it. It's very
I've
very
seen that
popular.
on TV before. I don't know what the name of it is, but I get what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, so that company is great. Those are great. Those are great alternatives, right? And if you just don't have any capital and you don't own a TV or you don't own a
Well, I
phone,
mean, everybody there's
uh,
so many different situations,
correct.
the whole pandemic thing, and some people like me, I can't go to the gym right now. But there's people out there that really, they've
Yep.
been dealing with
Oh
depression
yeah.
because we're going into the 1-year anniversary of 90% of people being stuck at home,
Yep.
not seeing their families, haven't traveled outside the countries, cities. There's still people out there. There's always going to be people that do that crazy shit.
Yeah.
But that's true, right? People
Yeah.
go into clubs during a pandemic.
Oh,
But
beach parties in Vancouver. I know all about it.
yeah, but the thing is that for like an average Joe, I can only imagine the dad out there. He's just, he looks at himself, nowhere to go. I mean, is cardio going to really be enough just to walk around? I mean, do you recommend him to try to do some like, you know, s- uh, you know, training in the sense of like resistance training to try to, will that actually, is there a misunderstanding regarding the traditional beer belly? Is it mostly just focusing on cardio, or is it, weights actually will give you better results? I mean, do you get what I'm saying?
So with a beer belly, it's just so some people are prone, like everyone's prone to, like some everyone's prone to build fat in different areas. Okay, a lot of
Hmm.
guys are prone to build fat in their gut, right? But it's not, you can't target body fat. So that's just a myth.
Exactly.
But when you lose weight, you lose weight everywhere. Your face gets leaner, your arms, it goes everywhere, right? But for some people, actually, including myself, the last place where I lose body fat is actually my stomach area and my face, right?
Hmm.
So for an individual who's at home who's struggling, and just to let the listeners know, when COVID happened, all I did was actually run outside too for 2 months because everything was closed to me, right? I didn't have any
Hmm.
weight because I wasn't ready for this situation to happen, right? I
Nobody
personally,
was.
nobody was. I personally love going to the gym and I like seeing people and I'm very sociable in that aspect. So I don't have a home gym equipment. I didn't at that time. Um, but so I spent 2 months personally running. That just kept me from falling into depression.
Yeah.
Helped me with my anxiety,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Helped me with
definitely.
with my mental health. That's why I tell people, like, the best workout is the workout that you can do. And if all you can do is run, then just fucking run. Yes, if you
How long should you run? For example, if they say Aaron is telling me to run, okay, well, how long should I run? How should I run? Especially if I've
and
never ran before. You know what I
if
mean?
this is even here's another wow. You don't even have to run. Did you know that one of the best ways to burn fat is actually just walking? Just walking alone will burn a lot of fat because you're in that fat burning zone, right? You don't even
Yeah.
need to run. So if you're a heavier guy that you got bad knees, a nice walk for 20 to 30 minutes, it's more than enough. But it goes
Hmm.
back to what we were talking about previously in this episode. You do have to watch what you eat, right? Your food is going to be a higher percentage of losing that body fat off you, right? Um,
What is the one thing that you've noticed that actually people eat in general that actually you're like, you just say to yourself that, hey man, that's the reason why you got that stomach. I mean, is it something that you see in general that people don't notice, but they eat a lot? Is it usually the bread? Is it usually the rice, or what is it exactly?
It's called emotional eating, is what it's called. And we all
Yeah.
do it. Everyone does it, from the guy who has a six pack to the gym to that supermodel on the magazine to everyone. We all humans, we're emotional eaters. When you're having a bad day, you don't want to eat chicken and broccoli. You want a cheeseburger, which is fine. And you want pizza. And that's actually quite normal. That's being human, right?
Yeah.
As you develop habits, you learn to stop yourself when that happens, and you learn to pick better choices, right? This is the
Hmm.
biggest thing I recommend for people, right? Find foods that you enjoy, healthy meals that you love, and that are delicious to your individual taste buds, right? So
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
for me personally, I love Greek yogurt. I think it tastes like ice cream. I get
Yes.
excited about eating Greek yogurt. Okay, you know, you
Yeah.
people make fun of me, and I was talking to my sister today. She's like, "Man, you mentioned Greek yogurt 5 times in this conversation." I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm so excited about it, right?" And that's
Yeah.
my
No, definitely.
individual taste bud. So what I personally do is, like, I have this, like, so I have a couple meals that I love. So Greek yogurt with natural honey,
Okay. Yeah.
10 milligrams because I weigh everything because I'm a nerd. And then and then I put raspberries and blueberries in it, and I smash them up. And to me, it tastes like ice cream. Like, I love it. I also love protein pancakes, which is a scoop of protein, right?
Oh, you
Omelet,
put protein powder in your pancake
yeah,
mix? Is that
yeah,
what you do?
my
Oh,
pancake.
that's crazy.
So it's like protein. It's a scoop of protein powder with almond milk, with oats, half a banana, and an egg.
Hmm.
Right, and there's different ways to make protein pancakes. You guys can YouTube this, but that's how I personally make them, and that to me it actually tastes like pancakes. So I'm having these amazing foods and my taste buds are tingling that I don't actually feel like I'm cheating. I feel like it feels like I'm cheating, but I'm not. And so
You,
I'm
you,
yep.
it's so sorry. I didn't want to cut you off there,
No
but
problem.
from what you just tell me in general, it sounds that working out is just pretty basic. It's just people somehow
Yep.
always, it seems that it's just, there's just an excuse to say that I can't do it. You know what I mean? From what I'm seeing, from what you're telling me, I mean, like you look so, energetic, happy, just talking about food, and you're having fun with it, and
Yeah,
I appreciate that because you're showing people that you can still eat, but as long as you watch what you eat, just be smart about it. That's really
absolutely.
what you're trying to say. But
Absolutely.
no, I mean, but you're still talking about yogurt. You get excited, like you're
Yeah.
going off saying, "Hey, but it's good to know that, hey, somebody who's listening, who's dealing with overweight issues, you can hear that, that there is ways around that. You just gotta make little, changes here and there.
Absolutely. Like I was super influenced by Tony Robinson, right? And we all know who that is. The
Yeah, Tony the Great.
yeah,
That's what I
right?
call him.
Absolutely. He talks about the story about when he was in California and he was down in his dumps and he was depressed and he was bigger than what he was. He just started
Hmm.
running, like he just started walking. And he did that every single day, right? And so, like, yeah, walking might not get you the dream body you want, but it's building a habit that's going to turn into a bigger habit, which will turn into another bigger habit, right? And
Yeah,
it gets you on the mission, right? So, and it's something small. Like, there's when it comes to habits, it's if you make something too complex and too hard, you're most likely not going to do it. But if it's easy and simple and it doesn't feel like something drastic, like a drastic change, you'll see the results, right? That's why I always recommend the first thing you should do is go for a walk, start running. You'll start learning
yeah,
about.
yeah.
You'll start to pick up on foods that you enjoy, like you start to learn about cooking healthy foods, and then you'll start to do, and then you'll add resistance training, and everything kind of starts to fall into its place, right?
Why do you think it's so intimidating to some people, though? I mean, it's true. It's a true. I mean, are they intimidated by seeing somebody who's so fit and they're like, "Shit, look at me!" Like, well, like I'm not nothing like that person, or is it just the technicalities of understanding how to work out? What do you personally think makes when you deal with clients, what makes them intimidated? Like, why do you think people feel like it's the hardest thing to do?
Actually, I had an actor client that I trained, and he's actually doing really quite well in Vancouver right now. We did
Yeah.
a couple sessions, and he even said to me, "He's like, Aaron, when I go to the gym, like some of these people." He said he's an actor, very attractive guy. He's doing quite well, and he gets intimidated by people at the gym. Um,
Hmm.
some of the people at the gym, it's not always the friendliest environment for sure, right? Um, but I think that some people they it's it's I this is good. This is I'm not even sure if this even goes with what we're talking about. It's kind of like the
You can
pretty
go
girl.
ahead, man.
It's kind
This
of
is
like
Dro in the Know. You can say pretty much anything you want.
kind of like the pretty girl at the bar. There's a lot of beautiful girls that go to the bar, and I've talked to them. They'll go there and they'll have a drink, and guys will look, but they'll never go up and talk to them. They're so intimidated, and if anybody just goes up and talks to them, they are more than happy to talk back, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I think we all wrap ourselves in our own psychological head and make things bigger than what they are. You know,
Yeah, definitely.
when you're just beginning, guess what? Someone who's in incredibly good shape, they used to be in your shoes too. I used to be
Yeah,
there.
definitely.
We all have a starting point, so there's nothing to be intimidated by it. And so a lot of people, they feel like, oh, I can't go to the gym until I have a six pack or until I look a certain way, until I can be a part of that elite fitness community, which everyone else, and it doesn't work because those people were at the bottom at once too, right? Um,
Yeah.
so you have to realize that those people are there because they had the courage, I guess, because it will take some courage to put
To
themselves there.
step in and say, accept that, hey, look, I'm either
Yep,
really skinny and I'm trying to, build mass, and you can only go up from that. It's tends to
absolutely.
happen with teenagers. And then you got people that are in their late 20s, 30s, even 40s and 50s and saying, look, I look like shit. I need to fucking do something.
Yep,
And it takes a lot of courage just to walk in that gym knowing that everybody's there with six packs and you just got this big ass shirt, just, with your belly just popping out, right?
yeah.
So yeah, no, you're right. It takes a lot of courage. What would you say to somebody if they actually want to take this seriously and actually do, take that step to change their life? I mean, what is the first thing you usually tell your clients?
Get a, get a professional, get a coach, get a trainer, or follow someone on YouTube if you
But
don't have the money for it.
but I mean, like, say they hire you.
Correct.
Like they say, okay, I'm going to work with Aaron here. What is the first thing you tell them before they really take on this journey? Like, is there any motivation that you give them, or
I always tell
you tell
people, like,
them?
I'm gonna tell you right now, it's good. I tell people the truth. You are going to have to put yourself in an awkward situation. You might not always feel comfortable, but I promise you,
Hmm.
after your workout, you're gonna feel fucking amazing.
Yeah.
You're never gonna have a workout where you're like, man, I feel like shit now. You're gonna when you're done a workout, your self esteem is gonna be up the roof, right? I just
Hmm.
started boxing, so I have a boxing coach, and so I always make these jokes because for the audience, I'm 5'2", but I say like
Yeah.
after my workout, my boxing session, I feel like I'm 7 feet tall because my because I just did something that was like to me is because boxing is still new to me. It's only been 3 months of training that I've never done before, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
But my self-esteem and my self-love and respect for myself is like, man, like, good job, you know. And there's, I remember the first time I walked into the boxing gym, I was nervous as hell. Like, you know, I'm not that kind of guy, right? I'm dancing here. I am going to go boxing and
Yeah,
be like,
yeah, I remember you started off with the hip hop dancing. I mean, for everybody who's listening who doesn't know you, you started off. You were one of the early, I mean, early 2000 break dancers. You know, dancing to Jay-Z and
yeah,
you know all these musics and stuff like that. It's crazy how music has changed too. Have you noticed
oh
that?
yeah, exactly.
Everything's like it's not even the same anymore. Not no tracksuits, no nothing like that. Like there's no art in that sense anymore.
Yeah,
But you know, I know you went through the path. You went through a lot of struggles. You overcame those struggles. That's, I mean, I'll be honest with you. We went to the same high school, but there was a lot of teachers that didn't think that we would be where we are right now in our lives. There are, and
that's true.
we, especially in your situation, you overcame that, and you showed them like, look, I became something. I'm now somebody, and it's great that you're helping people and working out and stuff like that. You know what? One of the last questions I wanted to ask you is, what are the things and challenges that you've seen at gyms during the pandemic? Do you see the industry changing in any way? Do you think that it's gonna, you know, kind of a lot of people are working out from home? And I
Correct.
was reading a stat that a lot of people who live in condos are now working remote, and now they're deciding to fuck it, move 2-3 hours out of the city just to have land. And now with this happening, I'm assuming that a lot of those gyms that are based in centric areas are going to not only face the challenges of the pandemic, but also face the fact that there's going to be people living out there. Like I'm talking about 2-3 hours with their own personal gym at home. Do you see the industry changing like a lot of things?
It's crazy because so just to give people like I can only speak from Canada, you know, BC, right? And
Yeah.
how we're doing. I know that in the States is a bit
Well,
different.
so I mean, you live in Vancouver, so you have the most expensive market, and I was reading
Yeah.
actually that a lot of people are doing that right now, like leaving, like they're going out of the city.
I think it's like they said. I read the same thing. I think it's like 20 or 10%, like something like that. There's a certain percentage of people that have
40,
left.
49%, they said. 49%, that's what they said, that
Right?
are actually like they're so stuck at being in a condo downtown that
Ah,
that love is gone. They're like, fuck it, we'll sell our shit and we're gonna go 2-3 hours, and we want to see land. We want to get out of the house. It's crazy. It's like,
that is.
remember 2 years ago, people were talking about, oh, I'm gonna live downtown.
Yep. Yep.
Everything's all fun and games until
Yep.
this whole COVID thing happened. You're like, fuck this shit. Everything's closed. I'm stuck in a little condo and I'm paying a lot of money. I can't even see people. Why not live? It's kind of reverse that suburb lifestyle again.
Absolutely,
Like,
absolutely. Like, I mean, we both know that Vancouver marketplace is one of the most expensive. It's like Manhattan in New York, right? You know,
yeah,
like,
definitely.
and the reason you move into these cities is because you get to go to the soccer game, the hockey game, concerts. You know, the events. It's really all that social stuff that doesn't exist right now. So, you're right. People are definitely like, why am I paying an excessive amount for a condo and none of these things going on? I'd rather just go out to the city where it's safer for some people, right? And there's more activities and things you could do, but Vancouver is a very like outdoorsy city. You know, we do have like
Yeah.
we do have a lot of like forests and places and a lot of hikes and bike rides you can go on. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a seawall which is incredibly beautiful. If anyone ever tries it out, it's just one of our main attractions to Vancouver.
It's kind of like Central Park in New York for everybody
Correct.
who's listening, but with an ocean view. Like
Yeah,
it's pretty nice.
it's insane. Like,
But the thing is that, is the industry changing because of this? Like in a sense that, are people more resorting to, look at for example, movie theaters. Just
mhm,
using it as an example. People used to love to get out and go watch a movie, and have a date night.
Correct.
That's all gone. Now people are watching at home. Now people are investing in entertainment systems at their house. You talk about another industry, restaurants. A lot of restaurants are now downsizing and focusing on takeout. Like, hey, they're giving them that experience. Do you see the same thing happening with COVID? I mean, in the gym?
It's crazy because I was out last night and I was out last night with a couple friends and the restaurant was actually quite packed. They have the glass and the social distancing, but it was happening, right?
Yeah.
Humans, we can't help but want to interact with people. It's in our DNA from
No, it
caveman.
is in their DNA.
It's how we actually survive. Like, so, like so do I see it changing in the fitness industry? I would say yes. Every industry is obviously having to change and having to adapt
On the go.
on the
Yeah.
go. Sure. Like, gyms are having to deal with, like at least my gym, the certain gyms that I go to, they have 50 people capacity, right? And then you have the app where you have to, you have to sign in for your session, and all you get is 1 hour workout in, right? Before
Hmm.
you take your time, you can be at the gym for 3 hours, 2 hours, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, it's not the same anymore, right?
It definitely isn't
Yeah.
anymore, and but then I also see like another side. I see people just grateful for the fact that the gym is open. And I've talked to
Yeah.
people about it. People are like, "Man, dude, I'm just so happy that I get to be here at least for an hour," because it goes back to what we discussed. People don't just work out to look good. There's a mental health aspect to it. You know?
There is, definitely is. Yeah, definitely. No, I agree with you 100%. Like, I mean, you say that in Vancouver, the restaurants are open and packed. I know that. I mean, that's actually something that tripped me out when I went up there.
Correct.
People were actually dining in out here. You can't dine in.
Wow.
It's like takeout. But Vancouver's such an expensive city. If you cut those jobs out, a lot of people are going to go in unemployment. And I think that's one reason why they keep them open, because it has more to do with the financial situation aspect of it than letting people to eat in. But all it takes is one case just to
Yeah.
destroy a business overnight. You already know that.
Absolutely.
But the reason I'm bringing this up is just that it's just so many industries. Is going to be very interesting to see how everything's going to be different in the sense of the fitness world, especially.
So
Because
from the
P90X made a big life change. For everybody
yeah,
listening, you recommended P90X to me because back then my
I did.
lifestyle was very busy, and I was like, wow, this thing makes fucking magic. Did you hear about Pink using it? The artist Pink.
Yeah.
She was pregnant and she gave birth, and supposedly she was gonna do her Grammy performance, and she didn't have time to have a trainer, and she had to take care of her baby, so she focused on fucking P90X.
Perfect.
And when she did her Grammy, like she had like actually 180 days to work on P90X, so it was just more than 90 days. When she did her performance, people were like applauding her, saying, "Hey, who was your trainer?" It's like, my trainer was P90X. I didn't do nothing special.
That is
So
awesome.
it is fucking crazy to know that like you said, you just got to put the time and the effort, and the rest will follow, right? So I mean, it's great to hear these things from you, because it's reassuring to know that you can make something out of this. For everybody who's listening out there, dealing with this whole pandemic, still locked in your apartment, whatever city you're in, or basement or home or whatever the situation is, there's a way that you can actually beat this depression that you're dealing with, especially with the summer coming in and spring coming in. But what is one thing you want to let the listeners know before we finish today's episode? Like, what questions do you get a lot?
Well, I want to add to that P90X because I thought, yeah, I used to love that program. I've done it myself, and see all those programs, P90X, even free YouTube videos on aerobic, all those things are great. The best workout
Hmm.
is the best workout is the workout you do. So
Yeah,
if,
yeah,
if that's what gets you going, perfect. If you love golfing, go golfing. If you love swimming, go swimming. Right? You don't necessarily have to do weight resisting training if you don't enjoy it that much. I personally do. I enjoy lifting weights. I enjoy cardio. I enjoy
it's
boxing. And
addictive. I mean,
it's
I
addictive,
love working out and I love lifting
absolutely, right?
weights.
But everyone has their thing. Some people like biking, then go for a bike, right? Just start by moving, right? And if you are looking more for an aesthetic appeal look, then yeah, you will have to do some resistance training. There's no way around that, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so that could be from going to your traditional gym to maybe just having some free weights at home, right? And there's so many ways. We live in a world there's so many resources, right? There's no excuse.
There's way more resources than when we were growing up. It was magazines. That's it. That's all you had.
I did the hard things. I had to, like I said, I had to be the kid, the kid who'd have to go up to strangers and pick their brain and get them to teach me how to work out. Now you have like literally just YouTube, right? Or if you don't, like I said, if or just being outside and using the resources you have. I think Tony Robbins has said this. It's like, it's not, if you don't have money, don't use money as an excuse. Get more resourceful, right? And I'm totally willing that quote, but it's very, very true. Like, there's so many scenarios, but there's always like ways to find things, right? It might not be comfortable,
definitely.
But you might have to budget. When it comes back to eating, I'll say this to all the listeners. People always think that eating is expensive. I've heard some people, oh, eating is it's more expensive to eat healthy than to eat, more satisfying foods. But really, it's not. If you learn how to budget, you can actually.
It's true.
You can get some good food. My grocery bill is actually cheaper when I don't buy the chips and the pops and the chocolate.
Yeah, no, you have a very good point about that. It's so true. I mean, I was saying that, we think that we're saving money, especially if you don't have kids and you go out and eat out or take out. You think it doesn't cost as much as buying groceries, but guess what? Not only do you have leftovers when you cook at home, you get to know what you're cooking.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, even during this pandemic, there's been a lot of cases where the cooks have actually been sick, and certain people, so what you're putting in, and when you go to restaurants, a lot of cooks actually put extra things to make it taste better.
Absolutely.
But in reality, you don't really know what you're eating, right? So you're right. You save a lot more money than you think if you're just more mindful of what you buy. Because sodas are fucking expensive, man. Like the 2 liters,
and
then you got chips. Ice cream is like fucking expensive too, wherever you're at. I mean, it adds up. It really does.
Especially if if I go to Costco and I buy a box of ice cream, I'm gonna eat that whole ice cream one day.
Is that your weakness? Is that your weakness? Ice cream?
It's funny because when all the people that I know that are actually like in really good shape, we're all fatties at heart. Like that it doesn't go away. Like loving to eat food is totally normal. The key is just being more educated, finding a happy balance where you are eating healthy and then you're indulging when you do indulge, right? But
I like how you said fatties at heart. That's such a good point.
that never goes away. Like I'll be on Instagram looking at like delicious foods from like certain chefs. I'm like, oh my god, I want that pizza or I want that burger.
Yeah, I know pizza. Oh, my weakness is burgers. I love fucking burgers. I don't know why. I just fucking love them, man. They look good.
Five Guys, joint.
I have an addiction to In-N-Out. I'm super glad that I actually don't live next to one because out here in Washington, there's no In-N-Outs, but I can only imagine I'd be gaining too much weight because I'd probably be there like 3-4 times, maybe 6 a week.
Yeah, and there you go. And people always ask me like, how do you how do you say no to all these delicious foods? Because the way I do it is like I know. When your body starts to change and you start to look a certain way and feel a certain way, you care more about that, and that makes you more happy than just a quick indulging moment of delicious food. And then you realize, okay, I'm going to sacrifice, or not even sacrifice. Sorry, I'm going to just develop some good eating habits. So then on my days off, like the weekend or my friend's birthday or wedding, I can indulge and I can enjoy that food guilty-free.
Just before we wrap things up, I have one last question I wanted to ask you. For somebody who just started working out, what recommendations do you have for somebody who still wants to maintain a social life, but, they can't resist, or how do they resist drinks or, certain foods?
Everything's baby steps. Just take it step by step, right? Do not go on a crazy, I'm going to eat broccoli and chicken every single day from now on, that's it.
Yeah.
From this moment on, I'm going to eat broccoli and chicken every day. That will last you literally like a week or two, and then you are going to binge and eat everything inside and go back to your habits, right? Because I'm not a robot, which nobody is, what I'm saying? It's crazy because even from a scientific point of view, your body knows when your eating has changed. If the body's having junk food every day and now it doesn't have junk food, the body's like, yo, fucker, give me back the junk food. What are you doing? and then it's true. And then you get these cravings. In the middle of the night and you're craving pizza or this burger joints we're just talking about. So because you rushed your body too quickly into the process, right? So
Yeah.
here's a great example that I learned a long time ago. So keep eating what you're eating, but maybe cut it in half.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Makes sense.
So don't drastically go into and don't drastically change.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have, cut
That's
it in
a
half.
very good point, man. That's some really good advice. I never thought about that. So you're basically saying to do that, and eventually when you work out, you're gonna kind of zone out because you're getting in your zone that you don't crave that as much anymore, right? Is that what you're trying to say?
It's a combination. Yes, you're baby stepping yourself into it, so your body adjusts and your psyche adjusts, right? So it's like, let's say you're a really bad eater and you have like burgers and hamburgers and pizza every single day. Fine,
Yeah.
have half of that, right? And do that for 2 weeks, and then on the third week, maybe do a quarter of that junk food, right? And maybe replace, and then on the fourth week, let's say you have pizza, but then on your last meal, replace that last meal with chicken and broccoli, right? But
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say is you're introducing
You're
the
slowly adjusting so you can last longer.
correct
It's a marathon, not a race, basically what you're
absolutely,
saying.
because a race
Yeah. Yeah.
it doesn't work. I've tried it myself personally where I'm like, that's it. I'm gonna go super strict and it doesn't last, So
It's more common than you think because I've seen people say like, you know what, fuck it, I'm only eating vegetables for starting right now,
I'm like, good
and
luck
then
with that,
3 weeks later, they're like eating 20 burgers.
right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just over exaggerating, but you get what I'm saying, right?
It-
It's just crazy.
it's like
Is
these
there any? I'm sorry, what was that?
it's like the keto diet. Like I get that all the time. People are like, I'm on a keto diet. I'm like, okay, you're not gonna have no carbs for the rest of your life. Good luck with that, buddy. Because I personally like, and it does work for certain individuals, but it's really hard when you're saying I'm not gonna have a certain food group for the rest of my life. Instead of saying,
Yeah,
okay, let me find a happy medium. Like modern protein, carbs, and vegetables and fats. That's more stable, and I can do this for the rest of my life, right?
yeah, no, definitely, no, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, especially if you travel. Imagine going to Latin America, going to Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't want this and that. Good luck, buddy. It's
So
like fuck that.
anyway, if you go to Italy or Paris, are you telling me you're not going to enjoy or like I have a
Yeah,
lot
I'm
of
not
friends.
gonna try pasta at all. It's just non-existent. You know what I
Exactly,
mean?
and that's the beauty. Like for me personally, like I love intermittent fasting. That's what I personally do. I don't recommend this for everyone, but that's for me because I'm always traveling.
What is that exactly?
So intermittent fasting it's a restriction of time that you eat. It's a certain window that you actually indulge and you digest food, right?
Mhm,
They say, and the studies done, that when you give yourself a break from eating, uh, you're giving your digestive system a break. If your food,
mhm,
if you're constantly breaking down food like a typical like bodybuilding diet where it's six meals a day, it's hard on your kidneys. It's hard on your liver, on your
mhm,
liver, right? So I do intermittent fasting, which is I have two big meals a day, and in between those meals, I have like an apple or fruit, right? I've been doing
mhm.
it for 3 years, and it's worked great for me because it's so much easier for me to focus on just two big meals and know the calories and the macro than to focus on six, right?
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense.
For
No,
me.
that's good. So you basically you're saying like you would have a small breakfast and then snack between that and then have a big lunch and then snack, have a big dinner and then just snack and then just is
So
that what you mean? Like 2 big meals and that's it?
So I'm past that point where I don't even have breakfast. Like I literally drink water and coffee, and I break my fast at usually like 1 or 2 o'clock, right?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
say I'm up at 8 a.m. and I usually break my fast with like natural sugar, banana, orange, right? And then I
Mhm.
and then I have my meal, which is like depends on what I want to what I feel like eating. Then I wait 6 to 8 hours, and I have my next meal around 6 or 7. And the reason I do that
No.
is I can have it when I get home for dinner, or if I'm going out to like a dinner party or an event, I can eat something at that time, right? Um,
Yeah.
just before the traditional bodybuilding diet, which is 6 meals a day, it was consuming my life. It wasn't fitting my lifestyle, right? And I
Yeah,
wasn't
no,
and
definitely.
I wasn't trying to get on stage to be a competitor. I just wanted
Yeah.
to be aesthetically looking good. You know what I'm saying?
Feel good and look good. That's what you were looking for.
Exactly, be nice and sharp when your clothes fit you, which feels incredible. And so I just found that works best for me, right? Restricting my eating. It's called restricting my eating window, right? But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
intermittent
Definitely.
fasting, it's I know it's very trendy right now, just like keto was very trendy, right? Um,
Mhm.
and so when it comes to this certain ways of eating, there is no right or wrong. There's people who do keto and they love it, right? I just personally like
Yeah.
bread too much. I like carbs too much that I can't do a keto diet. It
It's
wouldn't
so true.
pass
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for me, like so.
No, man. No, thanks again for all that information, man. Like it's really helpful, and I know a lot of people that are listening are gonna really benefit from all the advice you gave them. If anybody wants to follow you, do you have any social media or anything where people can find you, or are you under construction right now and you'll be back with that?
Thanks for asking. I mean, you can definitely find me on Facebook, Aaron Arias. So it's pretty simple. But I'm under construction right now at this point.
Yeah.
I'm working on a couple projects and a couple things, but I definitely will be working on a couple more social media outlets for sure.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna definitely invite you back, man. I know there's a lot more things that we're gonna talk about in for the next season, especially because I know that yeah, this is something that is on people's minds. It's always fitness and health, and you need it more than ever right now in these times that we're living in. We never thought we'd be living in a situation like this, but here we are, right? So we'll see how that shit plays out.
And I'm super motivated by just talking to you. That I'm probably gonna go have some chicken and broccoli now.
Anytime. All right, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, that was Aaron Arias. Thanks for coming on, man. We'll be in touch, and once again, for all the listeners listening, he will be back, and hopefully you'll have a social media page that we can direct everybody to.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Take care.
You too.
Yeah, once again, that was Aaron Arias here joining us on DroInTheKnow. I will be back next week with the season finale, so please tune in. I mean, we have a lot of great content coming up for the upcoming season. So once again, thanks for taking the time and listening to this podcast. We hope everybody has a safe week, and I'll be back. Peace, y'all.
From the Pacific Northwest.
Representando a todos los Alvis en los Estados Unidos con Dro Breeze.
You are listening to
You Already Know,
the Dro in the Know podcast with your host,
the one and only
Dro Breeze.